Greetings, and welcome to the live Verbally Effective podcast right here at the historic Cossitt Library in downtown Memphis. I am your host, your double E, Ena Esco. And if you don't know, Verbally Effective intersects art, culture, politics, entertainment with a Memphis flair. And I have my second live guest over here for this podcast series with me today, and she is an alum of Verbally Effective Podcast. I am talking about tech founder of Youdle and also former news anchor, Kontji Anthony. Welcome, lady.
You have been doing your thing for years. I mean, you have real following, and so it's just really nice to just be part of your world.
Thank you,
so thank
Kontji.
you.
And you know, we have been seeing you on TV for so many years here in Memphis, and it's amazing to know that you have taken on a new endeavor with a whole tech company disrupting the industry. So what happened? You left news and then developed your company, or was it while you were at the news station?
Okay, so when the pandemic started, you know, it's great because when you're in news, you help people put people information out so that they can make better decisions in the world, right? But then I was thinking, how could I really, really impact people in their homes, in their lives, really helping them during this pandemic? And so that's when I just said, you know, what do? I love social media. So
And you're great at social media.
I just love talking to people. I love people. I really love people.
You have a great connection with people.
I just think I love people because I think they're funny. You know, you don't know what they're gonna do. I'm that girl who's scrolling through, you know, TikTok but
just me too, Kontji.
You know, just seeing what people are gonna do with whatever their lives and information. And so I said, you know what? If I was to help people, I could post what we call shelfies, pictures of products and stocks so that they could find, you know, Lysol, toilet paper. And it ended up where it just kind of caught fire. So there were a lot of people who joined, and, you know, it got past 1,000. Then I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then it got to 10,000. And then I was like, I need help because, you know, anyway, my sisters, I call them, and my biological sisters, and I said, can you help me manage this? So it ended up growing, and then when the panic buying settled down, we grew by another 9,000 locals just by word of mouth. And so we realized that we were solving a problem. And that problem is that when you are looking for products in your community, it's hard to locate where they're in stock. And so I just feel like the pandemic made it top of mind for all of us. We didn't notice the breaks in supply chains. We just thought, oh, it's not at my store right now. But we didn't know that someone right down the street might know where it is located. So we were connecting communities and bringing people together. And so now we've become friends, like, in this community. So we actually then built an real-time in-stock search engine. And so that's the technology. And so that supports the community of people who are just helping each other live their lives better. Because you don't want to spend your time driving all over the place, searching a bunch of websites, when you could just, in one click, find what you need in your community.
We are a world that loves convenience. And you really can see that through the data with Youdle.
Yeah, so we naturally, you know, it was kind of the same as what happened with with that Facebook group. It's expanded outside of Memphis. You know, Nashville is city number 2, you know, as far as usage. Then there's Atlanta, Chicago, Little Rock. And so people are starting to use this by, you know, you put in the product name and you put in the zip code where you're looking for it, and then you can find what's in stock. And so these cities are starting to find it. And the cool thing is we developed a partnership with the University of Memphis, and their senior students are building, they built the start of an add-on for small businesses to be able to be found. So we're going to be releasing that at the end of this year before Christmas, so that Shopify customers can be found in our search engine.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
so
to
exciting.
Connect with U of M as well.
Yes, yes. And we
Yes.
just did something with the Memphis Shelby County Schools. One of their teachers, a marketing teacher, is what you call an extern, and she put together some marketing campaigns for us.
That's great.
So we're working with the schools, and it's about partnership. It's about lifting the tech industry in Memphis.
Yes, and you're working with small businesses as well,
Right.
Because we have quite a bit of small businesses here.
Yes, people getting their hustle on,
Okay, Memphis is a grit and grind
It is
city.
a grit and grind city,
Yes.
and that's the thing is we support small businesses because they were slipping into everybody's DMs. What was happening is you had these, people in their communities looking for these products, and then what happened was the small businesses started to say, "Hey, I have what you're looking for. Here it is." And so then we realized that we had created an ecosystem where small businesses and locals could help each other. So we're helping the small businesses get their products and services discovered, and then we're helping people who need products that they can't find immediately.
Yes, and I hear you're a big disruptor. The Amazons of the world are looking at you guys like, wait a minute, what is this Youdle doing?
Well, I'll say that we are the gap between Amazon and your home because there's this lag. There are things you can't wait for Amazon to deliver. And so that is what we do. We help you find what you need near you.
Yeah, and I know they don't like that.
As we grow, they're going to see, they're going to learn. No, but but I am not against being acquired.
Okay.
Because in essence, I would really love to see the tech industry in Memphis really take hold, and for this to be to continue to scale nationwide. That is our goal.
What does the tech industry in Memphis look like right now? Is it a very small percentage in tech, or we just need more people participating and grabbing onto it?
So it's interesting because there is a hold on technology now that is starting to grip Memphis. I think that when you saw Code Crew come up, that is where it's a nonprofit that teaches coding to our young people, which is, I just think it's the best thing for this town. And so you saw that happening, and slowly but surely it got to a point where Epicenter Memphis, which is they're a hub for entrepreneurs, and they were able to recruit Alchemist Accelerator. That is an international accelerator for tech companies. So they're in Munich, Silicon Valley, and Memphis.
Wow.
Right? So they just arrived. And so now what they're doing is making this a destination for people who want to build tech companies. So not only are they helping local tech founders to make their technology world-class, they're also giving special breaks to people who come here to take part in the accelerator.
Great.
So it makes us a destination. You look at cities like Austin, Texas, that started to kind of have a foothold on technology outside of Silicon Valley. And so it would be incredible for Memphis to be that next place because we have logistics with FedEx, we have medical with St. Jude, and so we're poised to be that place. I just believe that all of the factors are here, and you look at some of the challenges we have. I think of when Bill Gates went into India, and it was there were communities that had challenges with income, and was able to train the community there. And you look now, and technology in India is
thriving.
It's thriving. It's part of the culture. And so when we look at some of the answers that we need in Memphis, when people are saying, "Oh, I'm so worried about crime," well, if you can catch a child well before third grade, because that's when they start marking the numbers for how many prison cells they'll need. So if we caught kids before third grade and taught them how to start coding in Memphis, this could be one, that answer.
Yeah.
I truly believe that, and that's why I just really believe in Code Crew so greatly.
I know when you probably go and talk with the kids in the Memphis Shelby County school system, you're a big proponent for all things tech, all things coding. How do the kids respond?
Well, okay, so I know every time I've gone into a class, you get a lot of, people wanting to do sports. Mm-hmm. And I understand that because, you look at all the, the talent that's here, right? You think of singing, because there's something in the water.
Yeah.
There is something in the water here. But what I tend to do is when I'm in those moments, I say, if your ankle broke and you couldn't be a basketball player, what is something else you would do? Mm-hmm. So, I just think that what's interesting about technology is that there are so many different things that you can do with it. You don't have to be the coder. Mm-hmm. And I learned that, when I was on a Zoom. I'm part of this fellowship called Digital Undivided, where 15 Black and Latina females from around the nation, their companies were chosen to be part of this incubator to help us get to $1 million in either fundraising or income. You're seeing overall around the nation, there is a new vibrancy when it comes to, people of color, minorities seeking out technology as mm-hmm. a way to, do business. Yeah. And so I was on one of those calls and they were telling me, they were like, "You're a technologist." I was like, "I'm a what?" I'm like, "I'm used to being a journalist," but they pointed out that while I started out as a user, so I love the use of social media, for example. Mm-hmm. Yelp. In 2016, I became what's called an acronym, where they pick 10 people in the world to come to their headquarters, meet the founders, and then I consulted with them for a year. I know it's just they pick people who they like, how they're interacting with their technology. Mm-hmm. So even back then, I knew that technology was big for me. I just love it, and so you can be a technologist without knowing how to code. If you're the person who understands the mechanisms of how a technology works, and then you go into that field, you are a technologist. So just like if you have music, there are the people who sing, there are the people who play the music, there are the people who have to do the business. Yes. And so there are so many components to technology. So anyone in the school system, as a young person, you can find something to do in this field. Yes. And so, the sky is the limit, and I just believe that if you put technology into a child's mind, that's something you never lose. If you break your ankle, you can still be in technology. Yeah. So there's always a way with this type of industry, and it would be great to see it continue to thrive as Epicenter is working to do.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're glad that we have people like you, Kontji, that are really trying to stimulate this community with technology. I was looking at some stats, and it said about 3% of African American are participating in the tech industry. Huge underrepresentation. So how does it feel to be a Black woman in the tech industry, and does it come with any challenges?
Okay, so interesting you say this. There is a saying that Black tech founders are over-mentored and underfunded. So what happens is, for example, with Youdle, in order to make it what we know it is, it costs $2 million, right, to do that. And so knowing that we get such a small percentage of investments, it's you're what's called bootstrapping. Mm-hmm. So while we've raised we've raised probably $250,000. But when you think of developers, they make $150 an hour.
$150 an hour.
Yeah, that's the common rate, and that's what I'm saying. Imagine if our kids were going into this field, mm-hmm. and that's the if you don't know technology at this point, look at artificial intelligence. We're in
Yes.
trouble. So,
Yes.
so I just feel that we have to get into technology, and so we do need more investment as a community in this space. And I just hope that it will continue to grow in an African American dominant city.
Yes. As an entrepreneur, you're on the hunt for these investors to invest in your company. And when you go on a usual pitch, is it always smooth?
Girl, oh my gosh. I found out what is called, there's a part of your body called the vagus nerve. I'm like, because, okay, so I'm used to doing the news and talking about you, or you.
Yes.
Or you, Fabian. He's like, oh no, she did not say my name. No, but,
Boom.
No, but, so I'm used to talking about other people. And so going into these pitches and talking about what I'm doing has been completely foreign to me.
Yes.
Because for 30 years, you're telling everybody what's happening in the world. And then now I'm talking about what I'm doing. So it made me nervous, and I was not used to this. And so I'm like, why is my mouth dry? I'm like, what is happening?
It's a change.
I'm like, why is, and I'm like, so I found out when you feel that heightened sense of, nervousness, that the vagus nerve goes into, whatever makes your mouth dry. It makes your voice change, your pitch can go up. And so I learned how to control it by looking at what it does and like pretty much talking to my vagus nerve and saying like, okay, not tonight, say in, So no, it's I noticed that things kind of, didn't run as smoothly as, when I had planned newscasts. But what I do know is that I thought back the first time I went live on the news, my hands were shaking and I almost couldn't read my script.
Wow.
And so I just said, you know what? I just remember I used to go in and I wouldn't even think twice about going live on the air.
Me neither.
On the news, right? It's no big deal, right? You just go and you just start. So that is why I think back on what it was that made me nervous then, and I'm like, you know what? This is just, you're relearning. It's just a different way. Yes. But it's still, it's just about time. It's about repetition.
Yeah.
And so there is this, it's called Backable. There's a book called Backable, when people are looking for people to back them. It could be anything. It could be politics. It could be a tech company. And if this book tells you what you need to know about being backable and what to say. And so that was one of those books that for me was able to kind of teach me some of the things that you need to know when you are presenting yourself and getting people to understand what you're doing and showing them your passion. Yeah. So that was, I just tried to educate myself on how to maneuver this strange tech world.
Yes. And you're transitioning from being a journalist to a technologist. Right. And, that's quite the undertaking. Even for me, transitioning from working in corporate into full multimedia, I've had to pitch companies and the vagus nerve, right?
Yes.
But the more you do it, the better the pitch becomes, right? The more sales you get.
Yes, and in the book, they say that you should practice 50 times.
That's about
your
right.
Pitch.
But that's a lot.
50 times. And I'm like, okay. So when you're doing a tech pitch, there is the, you have your, the elevator pitch, right? And so there's one that's 30 seconds, there's one that's 90 seconds, and then you have a 5-minute, and then you have a 10-minute. And so each one of them, you have to touch on very specific points. And like one of the tips is to answer the naysayer questions before they can even get stuck on them. Yeah. So if people would say, okay, well, why not Amazon? Why are you doing this? Well, why not Amazon? And that's, so if I'm going into a pitch, I would say, Amazon, people can't wait for Amazon to deliver. So once I've said that, they're not stuck on the problem they have with what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
So then they can move forward and hear what I'm saying. Because if they don't if they have a nagging point of view about what they're hearing, you dispel it.
Yeah.
So that they can open themselves up to everything.
Psychology.
Yeah, and it learned psychology. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it seems that business is going well with Youdle.
Yes,
and it's only going to get better. Now, I do want to hit on your transition from being a journalist to a technologist again. And the question is, do you feel more free now? Do you feel more free as in there are no boundaries there? You know, I know when you work in news, there are boundaries going on. So do you feel in this journey that you're more free now as a technologist?
You know what is so strange about there was a framework that I knew I was going in for the day. I knew what time I was live. I knew everything I needed to do. I had to wake up. I'd read all the publications. I had an order to what I was doing. The difference, that is it's constraining, you know, because you have to be there. You have to be there live in person. While there is a freedom here, you also have to shut out the white noise because there are some things that you can waste your time on. And if you waste too much of your time, you've lost. So there's almost too much freedom, and you have to learn how to maximize every minute when it's a startup, because you don't have time to fail. So you have every moment is a winning moment. So there is kind of like it's a constricting in a sense in that manner, because you have to narrow it down. And then it's more time consuming because you'll wake up at 4 a.m, or I will, and I'll be like, oh, I have an idea. And I'm like, what am I doing? But, you know, the solutions usually come when everybody else is sleeping and your phone's not ringing off the hook.
Yes, because you have been busy, Kontji.
Girl. Oh my goodness, I can feel my phone buzzing on my hip right now. It's just. There is the refining of the technology, because, you know, you're always refining. Right now, I want our search to have the natural language and also incorporate artificial intelligence. So it's like your technology changes every minute, and so
yes, it does.
So you're always working. So I have to turn it off. I have to force myself not to work every second of the day.
Yes, I gotcha. And you know, you have a pretty big social media following, and they have been following you throughout your journey with journalism, now into the tech industry. How are your followers responding to the change?
I don't think, I think they're just kind of like, what are you doing? Come back. I just get messages, inboxes like, I miss you on the news. I love broadcasting. But at the same time, I'm allowing myself to kind of use every corner of my brain. However, I always say, I follow the mantra, I always tell you, ¿por qué no los dos? You know, why not? ¿Por qué no los dos?
¿Por qué no los dos?
So, you know, for example, News Nation called, right? And so because I'm doing technology, they needed someone who understands consumer technology. So I did, a little hit there. So I'm not... I'll always love broadcasting. It's like my first love. I did it in high school. I was a high school host. Oh my goodness.
It's in your blood.
I guess so, yeah.
And your followers just going to have to get with it.
Well, I just think that it can be both,
Yeah.
You can, but I think that the time has changed where people used to force you to be in a box and like they only want to see one part of you. Now everybody's showing everything, and your weaknesses are strengths when it comes to building community. So that is the one thing. That's what makes us very unique. That's what makes our technology unique, is because it's based on community building. It's about using collective knowledge from the whole community to make the community better, right?
Yes.
And so when you're connecting with people, life is not perfect. And so if they're just seeing this this perfect picture that you're putting up, it's not real. There's nothing real about it. So that is one thing that I don't know if people understand about social media, is that people want to see, the real you. They don't want this plastered fake, nonsense.
That's true. That's true. It seems like engagement goes up when they see the real you.
Actually, that's kind of true. Oh, that's my mom. So I take care of my mom, right? Lady Doris. She's that's why my phone's buzzing. But
that's Mom.
I call her Lady Doris. So I just think that the flaws actually when I do share, a hiccup, that actually tends to get more attention, and I think it's because people like to let people know that they're there. Yeah. I don't think anybody likes to see anybody going through a tough time. Yeah. And so, it's just an interesting thing. Yes. But then when you're like fly and they want to see that too.
They love that. They love that.
Flossing and fly.
They want to get all in your business. To be honest with you, they want to get all up in there. Now, you just mentioned your mom. She just buzzed you. How's your mom doing? How are you? How is your relationship with your mother right now?
She is just it's really hard because she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. I've never shared that. With it, outside of my family, but she is, and it's so, this is a woman who really sharp, just high powered in the sense of she always made sure we were involved in sports, took me to violin lessons. I had art classes after school. Swimming, because, she didn't swim till she was an adult. So she was like, you guys are going to learn how to swim. And so, this is a person who, just always had it together. She is she's so amazing. And so it's very hard to see where, she might be like, is this lunch or dinner? And I'm like, wow. Yeah. So it's been, she is my priority. So, my sister is arriving in town right now, so I know that's why she's buzzing me to say she's here. Okay, great. So I knew she landed, and so I know she's okay because my sister's there with her. But it's all encompassing, and I have the philosophy of it takes a village. I'm not putting her in a home. I'm going to take care of her. Yes. She took care of us, and it's just she's a Mississippi girl, and so it's just how we grew up.
What part of Mississippi is she from?
Lorman. She went to Alcorn. Wow. She was a majorette. Okay. A Golden Girl.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, she used to twirl batons, throw them in the air.
Well, that's good you got your sister in town to kind of, share the experience that you're going through now with your mom and taking care of her.
Yeah, I think at this point it's about spending as much quality time as possible, with, because she has these moments of straight clarity and everything's great, and it's just like, before. But then, you don't know when it's going to turn off. And so then there's the whole maneuvering, the landscape of caretaking and caregiving. That's not user friendly. There's no one to tell you, okay, listen, your needs are going to increase, right? You're going to need someone to be there at different times. Yeah. And so it's you're learning as you go.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm going to be praying for you, and your mom because I know that's a big transition and a big responsibility to have.
Yeah. I just want her, because really my parents were married 55 years, and when my father passed away, she became like a third of the person that she was. It's like her soul left her body, and so I just want to protect her the way he did, and just make her as happy as she can without him being on this earth. Gotcha. And so there's this beauty in being a person who saw a love story in real time, Black love, to see this beautiful Black couple. They met in Chicago at Jet Magazine, and and they had 4 girls, and my dad was a hard worker, and I just think that's part of the triggering thing that I think is part of the reason why I started this tech company, was seeing him get up at 3 a.m. every day and come home at 8 p.m. And for him in his industry, if as he was in food and beverage, and if a part was not available, the whole operation would stop.
Shut down.
And so when the pandemic hit and I saw this was happening in people's homes, and you saw these mothers and fathers running around trying to protect their kids.
Yes.
And it was literally survival. And so I started thinking about, wow, all that time Daddy was looking for parts to finish the repairs, and he could have been home, right? And so then I'm imagining, what could we do to make it easier so that, a mom is not driving all over the place to keep her home running safe and smoothly, so that we can reduce that time so that she could have more moments of living with her kids instead of hunting for an out-of-stock product.
Yeah.
So there's a real reason why we did this. So I'm doing this with my 2 sisters, and we had that discussion. We were like, this was what Daddy would go through every day at when he was running his family business, our family business, and the 2 of them worked at my dad's. Our family business, one for 27 years and the other for 20.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they worked side by side. No, they looked at each other. I'm like, you still like each other?
So they have experience in this.
Oh, yeah. So one sister dealt with logistics and inventory so they would repair commercial kitchens. So they had technicians who would go out and fix them. So it would be like hospitals, hotels, big restaurants, schools. If you have an industrial kitchen, my dad had people who would go and repair them. Okay. And he was like a genius at that. That was like, he could take something, like my mom said, when he was starting his business, he would bring things home and open the whole thing up and put it back together.
Okay.
And she is a clean person, so it was not cute. Like, she hated that. But she was like, I gotta support him.
Which one are you in that situation? Are you the person that's gonna build something? Or are you need to clean up? OCD.
So here's what's interesting. I remember we got a workout machine. It was like one of those, those machines where you lift the weights and you sit on it, and it's like it's a circuit, a universal, whatever. And so it came in, and my mom and I sat there, and we put it together. And halfway through, we realized we pulled one of the cords wrong, and it was midnight. And so I said, well, let's go back. And my mom said that was the moment she knew I was always going to be okay, is because it was midnight, and I could have said, I'm not doing this. But I said, well, let's just do it until it's done. And so I've always, my dad he had a workshop in the house, and he would teach me about cords and wiring and AC/DC, like how electricity goes through, how currents work. And so I've always kind of done engineering type stuff. Yeah. And so with him. And so when it ended up, I've always liked how things work.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, at this point, Kontji, I want to do a segment with you called If. IF.
Oh, no. I'm scared.
Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Okay, because I'm not going to get you gotcha on here, but it's just if, because we live in a world where so many things can go so many different ways.
Okay.
So first, if you didn't stay in Memphis, because I know you love Memphis, what city would you be in right now?
DC.
Why DC?
Yeah, because I went to Howard.
Okay,
Howard. Yeah, Howard was great,
Yes.
And so I love Washington, D.C. So I think it would be D.C.
What do you love about it? How is it different from Memphis?
So what I like is, there's also a tri-state area. So it's Virginia, well, Washington's not a state, but it's a district, but it's Virginia, D.C., and Maryland. And so you always, you connect to Baltimore. There's the waterfront. There's seafood. I just love the fact that Capitol Hill is there. And, I remember having friends who were in college who were like speechwriters. Like my friend was a speechwriter for Ron Brown when he was the Secretary of State, and so you just got to see how the government functioned on a federal level, and then you just saw really high functioning people, and so that was really awesome to just see that, and then to have the whole Howard experience was amazing. Yeah,
I already know.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be DC.
Yeah.
If you weren't here in Memphis. Okay, next, if you did not start Youdle, what would you be doing after you transition from journalism?
That is like, you are just going right for the. You know what the weird thing is? I would still be in broadcasting.
In broadcasting.
Yeah, because I felt like if I didn't see this through, that I would regret my life. Yeah. So it was like, this was something I never planned, do you understand how easy my life could be to just, do the same thing I did for 28 years? You
didn't take that route though.
I didn't. Like, it could be so easy, but I just really felt like this was something that the world needed. And so I would definitely, I'm not saying I wouldn't not do broadcasting now. I love broadcasting. So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, you did pretty good on the if segment.
Well, I was scared. I was like, what's happening?
But right now, I want to get into Esco's Pop Talk, where we talk about a few current events. And I really want to hit on something that has been leading the news. I would say probably worldwide, we tapping into Carly Russell.
Carly, why?
We were rooting for Carly.
Why,
we were trying to find Carly. And if you don't know who Carly Russell is, look at the audience member, Crystal. You're shaking your head.
I said the pursed lips. The pursed lips. Like,
We know where this is going. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Carly Russell, she is from Hoover, Alabama. And she called 911 to report that a young child was on the side of the highway. And, she's given a description. I heard the 911 call yesterday. And I'm talking about really going in with this story that may now be fabricated per the facts that are coming out. So anyway, she stated that the young child was on the side of the road. She pulled over. However, while she was on the phone with 911, she probably had to go about 600 feet. Now, a toddler can't walk that far. That's like a few football fields.
6 football fields. The toddler is not in like a 30-second phone call is not going to run 6 football fields, 600 yards.
But at the beginning, we were believing what
I was fighting.
Did you repost
I fought the internet. I fought the interwebs.
Oh, you were a cheerleader.
I was like, do not. I was like, you don't know what's happening. Like just give her. Let's help her. Let's find her.
And so many black women that go missing,
and nobody reports it, and it's not.
So I'm sure you're very familiar with this situation.
So let me tell you something. I had a situation where I was working in a market where a 13-year-old black female went missing, and none of the stations would cover it. And the mother, I took the girl's photo and I shared it. So I started sharing it and helping the mom. And so behind the scenes, when no one was watching, I was like on the phone with the mom, sharing details, trying to get this little girl. I remember being up at 2 a.m, talking with this mother who was just like inconsolable. And days went by, 13 years old, and the child was trafficked all over that town and into another state, and found about 2 towns over at in a bar, drugged. And the child said, "When I smelled your perfume, I knew I was okay, Mom," because somebody saw all those posts and saw the girl and said, "This is the girl I saw on social media." And so the mom called me and said, I would like my child to, do a story with you. And I said, no, I'm not going to. I said, I'm not going to do this again. So when Carly was lost, it was like the trauma of this young girl who came, I just was like, we've got to help her. And oh my God, Carly, why? Why, Carly? Oh.
Because as the days have gone by,
oh Lord,
Carly showed up at her mother's house unharmed.
Well, we don't know. I mean, her shirt was ripped. He said,
I heard she was butt naked. Like, I've heard so many things.
Okay. In the news conference, her shirt was ripped is what they said. They said that was a fact.
Okay.
They never talked about, but they said she was treated and released from the hospital. When you're treated and released, and then she told them that there was no sexual assault. Right. Well, wait.
And they fed her crackers.
Wait. The wig and the Cheez-Its. That is all.
Cheez-Its. And they painted her nails.
I just everything that
it's so bizarre.
Like, okay, so they get her, going to the Target, getting Cheez-Its and granola bars. Mm-hmm. And then she tells them that the trucker and the woman fed her Cheez-Its.
And the trucker had an orange hair.
Don't forget about the bald spot.
And a bald spot.
Don't forget about the bald spot.
And she left her wig.
I can't. Everything you're saying, I'm literally.
But in the beginning, we didn't think it was bizarre until
the memes. Have you seen Black
seen
Twitter went crazy? Okay, Black Twitter was like, "Oh no, Carly."
So, are you disappointed?
Oh my. Well, okay.
Or is this stuff we still don't know?
On a serious note, well, I just felt like from the news conference, one could gather that investigators did not believe her. Okay. And now, and then when Black Twitter comes for a Black female, there's nothing she could say at this point. It's just no one's going to. Yeah. So I just think, the saddest part, this is where I'm really worried. No, seriously. Like, on a serious note, when another African-American woman goes missing, what will the response be? And so I'm putting this information out there. I hope that decision makers in newsrooms will listen to this one thing. Think about the metrics, okay? How many people clicked and how many people wanted more information when they thought she might be innocent. So this, what happens is news is public interest. It's information that helps people, right, to know, is there a crazy person out there who is abducting women, right? Mm-hmm. So when information goes out, newsrooms respond to clicks because they know that you want this information to help you in your community. So I just hope they will focus on how many people clicked and shared this, and that the next time this happens, they realize that this is a worthy story to cover. And so, Beyonce's mother, Miss Tina Knowles, was sharing this on the Instagram. Yes. Okay,
I saw so many celebrities sharing.
Yeah.
Even activist Tamika Mallory.
Yes.
And she had to come out yesterday and apologize, and it's just so disheartening.
So here's the thing, right? But think about this. I think all of us have had a moment in our lives when we're living, right? And it's just like, why is this so hard? Like, why is this life so hard? You're just like, ugh. And so I feel like there's something she was running from, because for her to look up a one-way ticket to Nashville, right. There's something she was running from, like how to steal money from a register and not get caught. What?
And they said she stole money from her job that day.
Well, the thing is, I think when you're in these moments, one should not hurt other people. So if you're having a mental break, it's about getting help and not hurting others. And so she just did that. She watching the movie Taken,
She did
looking
a lot.
up, Googling the Taken.
This is a big lesson about your phones too.
Oh my
How they are
yes, they
definitely
track
going
you.
to track everything, because they went in her history prior to, you know, the time that she went missing to see what was she busy at, where was her mind.
Yeah, deleting your last search does not delete the last
It's
search.
there.
It's there.
Big
All the
Brother
things.
is watching.
All the things are there. We are now like, you know, and you look like right now the federal government has now digital money. So
Yes.
that is, you know, people use cash, right? And it can't be tracked in certain, in commerce. But, you know, will there be a point when it's all digital
I
and
think
that
so.
paper money is not going to be, you know, used? So it's like, you know, yeah,
That's the direction.
there we go, right? Yeah,
The government
that
wants to
is
track everything.
That's such a good point that you made, that it was a lesson in information and that it's there and it's always there. And I just like, I'm kind of just like, I don't care. Like, I don't have anything to hide. I'm just like, I know some people feel very strong about privacy. So I think it's important to protect people. If they feel they want to be private, they have every right to feel the need for privacy. You have to protect that. But for me, I'm just kind of like, you know, I'm not searching Taken. Usually, you know what I did worry about when I was a news anchor?
What?
I used to worry because I would be doing a story and I knew that everybody, you know, like they could search your stuff. And I would be like, oh my gosh, this is no other profession would somebody be Googling what I'm Googling right now. You know, it was just like weird things that I would have to Google, you know, for my stories. And I was like, gosh, you know, I hope they realize I'm a journalist, you know, and this is a weird thing to search.
Because they are tapping in.
Yeah, tapping
They
in.
are tapping in.
Yes.
So I think that from this Carly Russell situation, more information will come out and we'll understand the root of why she did what she did. Because we all want to know.
Well, yeah, and it in any sense, no matter what, there is something where she did not love herself somewhere, because, you know, like to do that, you know, you have to, there's a pain inside of you that's driving you to do this. So if there's a
orchestrate
pain,
that whole thing.
yeah, there is pain somewhere, and I hope that people can, that she can be forgiven. But it really, it hurt.
I hope
It hurt
so.
a whole, you know, race of people.
But Kontji, repeat after me.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
A mine, say mine.
Wait. Say what? Say who? Wait. Say it again.
A mine, say mine.
Amen. Say mine.
Have you ever heard a mine, say
I don't
mine?
know what I am saying right now, and that's not good. Like, you shouldn't say things you don't know. I am very worried right now.
It is a Memphis colloquialism.
I love it. Like,
you know how they say mine, though?
2 round, 3 down. Yeah. I know some things. I knew Maine, M-A-N-E.
So
Maine.
they say a mine, say
like,
mine.
hey, how you doing?
Like, hey.
How you doing? Okay.
Okay, but this particular
I love
segment,
this. Hey, Maine, say
I
Maine.
coined a mine, say mine, because I always want to hear my guests say it.
I love
Say it again.
So, Amen, say Maine.
Okay, we don't hear that much.
Still
Memphis,
a little
do
bit too. Oh no!
But this is the
really,
moment.
Contessa? She's
You didn't
laughing.
mess up. You did good. Now
She's like,
she laughing because she would probably say
it was
different.
so bad.
She says she know how to say it. It's okay because this is a moment of transparency between you and I. Amen. Say mine.
Amen. Say mine. I'm gonna be in the mirror looking at myself before I go to sleep.
I like
trying
how you
to do
just
this.
said it.
I am.
Okay, so my question is, Kontji,
What?
I hear you have a love for hip hop that a lot
do.
of people don't know about.
I actually have a personal hip hop followed me.
Okay.
Okay, it's funny, right? So my first, I knew. What's the first hip hop song? Sugar Hill Gang.
I
right?
said hip hop,
the hip to the hip hop, and
Come
you don't
on.
stop
she
the
can
rocket
do
to
that,
the
y'all.
bang
She
bang.
got
Boogie say
that
up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to the beat.
Now
Now what you hear is So
Hey,
okay.
hey.
So of course that was when it went mainstream, and it was in New York. Well, it just so happens that news took me to California. So I knew hip hop before it was misogyny, You know? So I love, and I think back, to the days of yore when, African families would pass down stories to their children. And so for me, I always saw that as spoken word, and it's something that is part of my culture from, because I did do 23andMe. And so I know that I'm of the Hausa tribe in Nigeria. Wowza. And then there's other stuff that I did not. I'm having an identity crisis. I don't want to talk about it. We'll talk about that.
What percentage were you the Hausa tribe?
Oh gosh, I can't remember the percentage. It just wasn't as much as the other stuff.
Okay, this is the other stuff that's bothering you.
It was more than I thought. So So my grandmother is from the Dominican Republic. So I always, but she is African. So my thing is, she was an African in the Dominican Republic. So I'm like, am I Latina?
I can see a little Latina in you, girl.
But I'm saying it was the Middle Passage, because our people got dropped off. Christopher Columbus dropped us off all over. So so now all this time I'm thinking, I've embraced the Latina culture. But then I guess you are what the culture is. Anyway, there's too much. So what were we talking about?
Hip hop. Your love for hip hop.
Okay. So then anyway, what happened was I ended up living in California for news, right when it got big. How they took over hip hop, right? And so then I was living there, and that was what was on the radio. So that is when Snoop got real big, and then I ended up moving to North Carolina when the South kind of took over hip hop. So it was like P.D. Pablo was, and then I'm here, and so it was just kind of like, and now the South owns hip hop.
The South.
So it's like, I just happened. So hip hop followed me.
Okay, it sure did. It sure did.
No, I somehow I have lived in every city where hip hop was became mainstream, and took over. And so it was just interesting. And so I've followed it. I think I need to do a documentary on it.
You do?
I do.
Who are some of the hip hop artists that you're probably listening to now, or that you really
I love
like?
Glorilla.
You like Glow? You like Glow? I like Glow too.
Let me tell you what I respect about her. So she, earlier on in her career, before she was, Glorilla, because I know that, she took that name on later, but she had a different sound to her voice. And so I respect how she found that depth. She was singing more in the top part of her body. And so she found her diaphragm, and she found that voice. And so that is skill. What she's doing is it's not by chance. The sound she has, the way she projects, I love that she isn't trying. She is giving us the Memphis accent.
She's definitely giving us that,
right? Because and you listen to her music earlier on, and you didn't hear it as much. Yeah. So what she did was she just found her real voice, and that's what I think happens is when people are being authentic to themselves. That people feel it. You feel when it's real.
Yes, you do. I like that, because ever since she dropped FNF, she's just been skyrocketing. And especially with the management of Yo Gotti and Rock Nation. They have really just, skyrocketed.
Of course, what I do love about it too is that her breakout album and Moneybagg Yo's breakout album were recorded at my Boo's studio. So in Studio A.
Mr. Porter?
Yes, both of their albums were recorded there.
Really?
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so you could go to their Instagram and you'll see them in there. But it's the quality of the equipment, all these people from all over the world built that studio.
Wow.
And so people come from all over the world.
For you recording. Is it that particular studio?
Yeah, so it's Mime Records is the umbrella.
Gotcha.
But then they have For You Recording Studios. That is people don't know that nuance. That's, of course you would know that.
Yes.
And then they have the Beetroot Publishing. And so they, they use, so what is also interesting is Gabri Waddell is the founder of, oh my goodness, Gabri Waddell. It's something sound, but what he did is he created a technology in Memphis that helps to identify the sound of an artist's song so that the artist can get paid. So he did this years ago. And so
Shazam? Is it Shazam?
No. This is for specifically
get paid,
for the artist to get paid.
Gotcha.
So he
Get their royalties.
right. So
Gotcha.
they're not, So what happened is, what he's doing is helping artists, but also now Memphis technology is on the map. And this is kind of not, people don't really talk about this guy,
like this.
but he is literally like, he has like Sony, like all the top companies are using his, they're using his technology, and it's all made in Memphis, and he's a Memphian. And it's a beautiful thing. Memphis has a lot of really amazing stuff going on.
It really does.
Yes.
It really does. Which leads me to
what?
one of my last and final questions.
What? You ask like just really, okay, what?
Why Memphis? You could have gone anywhere, Kontji. Why Memphis?
I've never felt more myself anywhere, and I've lived in almost every mountain is the only time zone I've never lived in. But I've lived in every time zone, and this there is something. It's the rawness. There's something raw about it that just feels so real, and then I think at one point. Just it makes me feel myself also because, I do come from a civil rights family with my father's father founding the first union on the island of Nevis and St. Kitts. They're sister islands, and he battled the British over the sugarcane fields, and the workers were not being treated well. So he created a union, and then on my mom's side in Mississippi, my grandfather was a pastor, and he fought to educate, black children. So I had these families in the 1940s. My grandparents were fighting for the same things that happened in Memphis, and so having that in my history, my family history, it just feels so authentically me. Yes. And I'm like, I'm here for like all the, when people are messy, I just think it's so funny. Like I'm so entertained. I'm like, that's so Memphis.
Yes.
But it took me a minute to understand what was happening because you have to be smart. You have to be really clever to understand Memphis.
Yes.
And so there's a Memphis, the surface, and then there's so many complexities to people here. Because, you've seen so many things, right? As far as, there's agriculture, there are just so many facets to Memphis, being on the water, slavery, how, the dark history there. And
old money versus new money.
There's a lot of pain, and then there's a lot of there are people who come up. And so it's just there's so much richness and texture. And when you're driving down the street, I can think of all the history everywhere. Mm-hmm. And there's so much to this town. And I remember I would do stories, and I would I had to learn more because I'm like, no, there's more to this. Mm-hmm. There's a depth to this. So there's a deepness that I don't feel in other places. And those other places feel sterile and boring.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
okay,
that feels good.
And then there's the food, and then there's the music, and then
there's your boo.
Yeah, my boo. Oh my goodness, yes. And then the traffic. This is not real traffic.
It's not.
It's not real traffic.
No, it's not.
Okay,
it's
so
not.
The cost of living. You go into a store and someone will say your name, and you become part of the neighborhoods where you live.
Yeah,
it's just a beautiful place.
Thank you so much, Kontji Anthony,
Thank
for joining
you.
me today for the live Verbally Effective podcast right here at the historic Cossitt Library. Please tell everyone how they can continue to follow your journey. How can they get in touch with you?
Okay, so get Youdle, GetYoudle, is our handle on Instagram, Facebook, so and TikTok and whatnot. So you can, check us out on social platforms. But I'm still Kontji, just Kontji,
Just Kontji.
at Kontji. So
I see you on Threads.
But I'd like to promote Youdle.
I know you do.
Get Youdle.
Well, thank you for joining me on Verbally Effective Podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast on all streaming platforms and at Ena Esco YouTube channel as well. I want to thank everyone who is here today that attended the live podcast for Verbally Effective at Cossitt Library. See you guys next time.